Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. Alright, we're going to be reviewing a game I played earlier today. Whoops, this is a little bit into the game. Let's go. I had the white pieces. We were playing game in 5 minutes per side. Alright. So this is it's called the three knights opening. Most often goes into the four knights opening, but there's also a lot of opportunities for black to play other moves. And sometimes black will play another move and it will transpose into a four knights game. Anyway, so here, bishop b4. I believe that white's most active way of dealing with black's intention pretty much to dump the bishop and double pawns on the c file. Black is pretty much aiming to do that here, is to deny black the opportunity to do that. And the moment to do that is now, right here on white's fourth move. I played knight to d5, which I think is a very active, strong way. We're already, here's move 4, and we're already in a struggle for the center of the board and all kinds of things. There's going to be some really awesome chess to follow. My opponent played bishop c5, and I pounced on the opportunity to play bishop takes e5. After the recapture of the, I meant knight. I pounced on the opportunity. I chose to play knight takes e5. After knight takes e5 in response, then pawn to d4 forks black's minor pieces, winning back for white one or the other, and at least leveling material. My opponent played bishop takes d4 as a way of remaining with level material rather than other moves which would put black at some kind of loss of one pawn. For instance, bishop e7, d takes e5, and white has a one pawn lead in terms of material. Torch indicates this as an inaccuracy. For reasons I don't want to get too far into, I think Torch is right. After queen takes d4, white's ahead in almost everything. Clock, white's ahead barely, white with 2 seconds extra. Initiative, black has to deal with the threat against e5. Development, knight, queen, pawn, and only a knight. The development, yeah, I don't know, I guess in the opening that's a force. But this really speaks to is mobility. Black has an awesome knight, it's also under fire, and white has a number of great options with the f1 bishop, with the c1 bishop. The c1 bishop is sitting here at home, and he's almost the most powerful piece on the board. Almost, I say. The f1 bishop can go to e2, go to d3. c4 is not all that good, but it's not horrendous either. So just white's queen is strong, so very strong. White's knight on d5 is strong, so very strong. White has an excellent lead in the category of mobility. So what did we say? We said so. Next up, space. If I don't think space really plays into this game, but if there is, it's this one square on e3. So space. White has a tiny lead in space. King safety. We'll call it even. Both sides are one move away from castling king's side. All right. So one move to be moved and then castle king's side on the move after that. So king safety's even. And materials even. Material, mobility, clock, initiative, king safety, and space. Some of these leads are super tiny, like 2 seconds on the clock. That's not a very strong lead for white. But for all these reasons, I say white is doing well here. quite well. And the progress bar agrees that white is about 2/3 of a knight, a little more than 2/3 of a knight, or 2/3 of a bishop, uh, ahead or better than black, even while none of that is owing to a material uh, holding. Some of these tactics play out quite in white's favor. Now, I did miss an opportunity to pretty much blow this thing open. I chose to capture on b4. When in review, I realized that queen takes h8 is even better for white. Let's play through that. Right? So we're full rook. We're a rook to a, what was that? A knight. We're a rook. We're up the exchange, and then maybe a pawn after that. But then we capture on g8. So we're up a lot of material. We take the tick tock out of black's time bomb with queen takes d8. Black must play or almost must. Black plays king takes e8, and then dagger to the heart with e takes d5. And white is ahead. A ton of material. A ton of material. And we'll win the game. So that would have been an even better way for me to close this down. But I'm ahead of pawn and I snatch a free piece with knight takes b4. So, hey, why not make it a little bit crazier, and we'll have fun analyzing the game later better that way. I didn't think like that. I just thought, hey, free piece, and then didn't realize that maybe I calculated wrong or thought there could be complications. God's honest truth, I would have played queen takes h8, but I thought, queen to f6, and I'm not sure how the complications work out after that. And not only that, but there's queen takes h8 and knight takes c2. If the king moves to d1, then my opponent gets a rook and all these crazy things. And of course, now I realize queen to f6 can fall to the knight or the queen. So, I don't know. This is miscalculation. Sometimes chess players miscalculate. So I picked up a full piece though. Exchanged queens off the board. And I kind of caught black getting a little bit greedy with knight takes e4 because of course knight takes c7 check, king d8, knight takes a8, and that knight just snagged a rook. It's gonna be another. There's more material. So when prioritizing some piece development here so they don't get caught flat-footed, but I'll also trade minor pieces here on e4 to make the endgame situation more favorable. Now you talk about don't pin your own pieces. It's not a good habit. Once in a while, it makes a lot of sense. You can find your own opinions for why bishop e3. I'm pinning my own piece, but it's totally not all that bad, really, because it allows the white king to castle to either side at some other point. He's protected. Find some other reasons why bishop to e3 both pins my own bishop, but is also still the best move. And so bishop here, black plays bishop to b7, right? And admitting the loss, but wanting to just make ever so sure, I played knight takes b6, a takes b6, and so at least that knight sort of going down with the fight and believing in his cause. Castles queenside opens up the opportunity, sort of like a hidden part of this is that there's now a threat on b6. Also going back to knight takes b6, a takes b6. They're not this. The pawn that sits on b6 now is not protected. So get rid of the fact that get rid of the pin on my bishop by kingside castles, and now this threat is alive. I think I captured here. Yeah, that's the correct move order. There's no danger that white's capturing bishop on b6 after putting black's king in check. There's no danger that can befall him here. So we wait for any move really by the black king, and then deal with the issue on a2. Really, the point is not like I'm scared that the king's going to come to life and know how to jump all the way diagonally to b6. No, that's not the thing. The point is here that this check on a2, or that this pawn on a2 could be captured, and who knows, maybe there's some crazy rook to a1 check, and I move here, and then there's, it's not really there, but part of what you do when you're finishing out a chess game that you really pretty much have in the bag against another chess player, you want to play in tournament play form. You want to stay within tournament play form so that on some other game, 10 games, 100 games, 1,000 games down the road, you don't rely on a bad habit that you've developed, on a one game online 3 years earlier. Okay. Anyway, king to c8, and I got a little bit going back to the threat on a2, right? We'll talk about tournament form. How about I'm warding off this? I'm allowing rook to a2. That's my defense against rook to a. Rook takes a2. That's my defense against rook takes a2. Allowing rook takes a2. That's my defense against rook takes a2 is to allow it to happen, because if it happens right now, black plays rook takes a2, then of course the checkmate with rook to e8 checkmate. And my opponent was wise to that, and so I eventually played this move that's been being. We're going back all the way to when I captured on b6. The a2 pawn, the capture of the a2 pawn has been delayed and delayed and delayed, and now is the time to say yes, most definitely. You're hitting at a protected pawn to the rook on a4. All right, so that was cute. That was cute. Give a check here. And this is dancing with the devil in the pale moonlight. So I have just enough, sort of flirting with disaster, that kind of idea. Just using the razor edge of the initiative and the timing and tempos to show that I can play a move like rook to d7 check and get away with it. Oftentimes, you don't get away with it if black's bishop is on h1, and for sure, then you don't get away with rook to d7 check, because king c6, probably spare your rook with rook to e7, and then king takes c5. But since the bishop is on f3, then it's on. I can get away with attacking the bishop as a way of keeping things strongly in my favor, keeping the material as trades and not dropping pieces to willy-nilly. Haphazardly. No haphazard piece drops or blunders. Alright, so now this game is, we should just say that this white's going to win this. I think I end up using classic rook past rook technique of pushing checkmate onto black's king on d8 here. All right. And since we have the time, I'm going to show this game as well. This is early positional collapse. Alright, so white shows the victory early here. I want to demonstrate that the simplification is also guaranteed because white can instigate or black can instigate, but as long as we choose not to, leave the 8th rank without doing our proper damage, then white will be able to simplify into this queenless endgame. All right. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.